If you've been playing Valorant for some time, then you would know that the meta is always changing. And that's why in this video, we'll dive into the most played agents at VCT Champions in Istanbul. Throughout this video, we'll talk about the overall agent pick rate, what agents saw the biggest rise in pick rate compared to Masters 2 in Copenhagen, what agents saw the biggest decrease in pick rate compared to Masters 2 in Copenhagen, and then we'll talk about the agents that are picked most on each individual map in Valorant. My name is ZK, and make sure you guys subscribe if you enjoy this type of content. I also stream on Twitch 5 days a week, twitch.tv/the1ZK, so make sure you guys go drop me a follow there as well. Now let's talk about these agent pick rates. To kick us off, Chamber has the highest pick rate of any agent once again, just like he did in Masters 2, this time having a 67% pick rate across all maps. Rounding out the top 5 pick rates are Fade, who comes in at 53%, Viper, who comes in at 46%, KO, who comes in at 45%, and Omen, who comes in at 35%. At the bottom of the table, we have Neon, who comes in at 16%, Cypher, who comes in at 6%, Phoenix, who comes in at 6%, Reyna, who comes in at 1%, and Yoru, who also comes in at 1%. Now, despite all of these agents being the bottom 5 as far as their pick rate goes, every single one of them except for Yoru saw an increase in their actual pick rate compared to Masters 2 in Copenhagen. Neon's pick rate went from 14% to 16%, Cypher's pick rate went from 2% to 6%, Phoenix's pick rate went from 0% to 6%, Reyna's pick rate went from 0% to 1%, and Yoru's pick rate again was the only decrease for the bottom 5 agents, where his pick rate went from 3% in Masters 2 in Copenhagen compared to 1% in VCT Champions. Now, a very surprising stat here is that out of all of the agents in Valorant, Raze saw the largest decrease in pick rate from Masters 2 Copenhagen to Istanbul. Raze's pick rate in Copenhagen was 54%. Compare that to Champions, where his pick rate lowered all the way to 34%. Now, Raze was still the most commonly picked duelist, but it's very important to keep in mind why Raze's pick rate dropped here. At the end of the day, there were no nerfs to Raze during this time between the tournament. And the sole reason for such a decrease in pick rate is because at Masters 2 in Copenhagen, Split was still a part of the map pool. And we all know that Split is one of Raze's best maps. But when you compare that to Pearl, in VCT Champions in Istanbul, Raze had just a 28% pick rate on this map, and that's likely the largest reason as to why Raze's pick rate decreased so much. For the agent that saw the biggest increase in pick rate, that goes to Sova. Sova had a 19% pick rate in Masters 2 in Copenhagen compared to a 33% pick rate in VCT Champions. Sova's pick rate increased on Breeze, Icebox, Ascent, and Haven, which is what contributed most to the increase in his overall pick rate. Now let's talk about the agents that were most commonly played on each individual map in Valorant. Starting off with Ascent, we have KO, who had a 97% pick rate. Follow that with Fade at 71%, Omen and Jet at 65%, Sova at 56%, Killjoy at 47%, Chamber at 35%, and Astra, who's also at 35%. All of the remaining agents didn't have a significant enough pick rate to include in this list. So when you're thinking about your agent pool for the map of Ascent, these are definitely the agents that you should take into consideration. Our next map up is Bind, and Raze was the most commonly played agent on this map with a 100% pick rate. Viper also had an 88% pick rate, Brimstone and Sky come in at 85%, Fade at 46%, and Chamber at 35%. Sage, Astra, and Breach all saw a little bit of play on Bind as well, but their pick rates all hovered around the 15% range, and that's not quite enough for me to include on this list. Moving over to Breeze, we have Sova and Viper, who came in at 100%. Jet comes in next at 82%, Chamber at 68%, KO at 64%, and both Sky and Cypher at 27%. Breeze's meta has been stale for quite some time, as most teams always rock a Jet, Sova, Viper, and then they flip back and forth between the Sentinel role with Cypher or Chamber and the Initiator role with KO and Sky. Before we move on to our next map, please click that subscribe button if you guys are enjoying the content, and turn on the post notification bell as well. That will alert you guys every single time I post a new video, which is every single Sunday, so you guys can stay up to date with all of my newest content, including videos like this, tips and tricks videos, gameplay videos, and much, much more. We also recently hit 20,000 subscribers, and I want to thank everybody out there who has supported me along this journey. I know that we have a long way to go, but I'm very grateful for the support up until this point. Thank you guys again. Now let's jump back into the video. Moving over to Fracture, we have Chamber, who comes in at 100%, Breach at 85%, Neon at 80%, Brimstone at 65%, and then a multitude of agents who hover around the 20 to 30% range. Those agents being Fade, Viper, KO, Omen, and Raze. As we move over to Haven, this is definitely the map where the Valorant meta shifts the most in regards to team composition. There were only 2 agents in the entire game that had a 0% pick rate on this map. The 2 agents that were never played on Haven were Yoru and Brimstone. The highest picked agents were Fade at 84%, Omen at 84%, Chamber at 78%, Breach at 66%, Raze at 53%, and both Jet and Killjoy at 25%. The rest of the remaining agents all hovered in the low teens or single digits. And we even saw a crazy match where FPX ran double controller on Haven, which was the first time that I had seen Viper on this map in my history of watching pro Valorant. Going back to a little bit more of a stale agent meta, we can talk about Icebox. Viper comes in at 100%, Chamber at 90%, Sage at 90%, Sova at 65%, KO at 50%, Fade at 35%, and both Jet and Killjoy at 20%. For quite some time has it been really common for professional teams to run no duelist on this map. At the end of the day, there's not a lot of space to be made when you enter into sight. Heck, we've even saw Fnatic rock triple Sentinel on this map, with Killjoy, Chamber, and Sage, as well as Viper and Sova. Hence why the highest duelist pick rate on this map is Jet at just 20%. Last but not least, we have Valorant's newest map, Pearl. Both Chamber and Fade had an 89% pick rate, Astra had an 83% pick rate, Viper and KO had a 50% pick rate, Neon was at 39%, Raze at 28%, and Sage and Sky at 22%. It will be really interesting to see how this dynamic changes over time, as Pearl receives slight changes to the map as we just saw with the 5.06 patch, and as pros get more and more familiar with it over time. We've covered everything regarding agents' overall pick rates, what agents saw the biggest increase and decrease in pick rate, and of course, what agents are being picked by pro players on each specific map. What surprised you guys the most about this list? Be sure to let me know down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Peace.